My name is Monae Royalz, but some of the people watching this may also know me as Mo, and my pronouns are she or they. With gender, I identify as gender fluid, meaning that some days I feel masculine energies in myself, and that kind of comes out in some of my style aesthetic or just in my mannerisms, but the majority of it is that I show up mostly feminine and just kind of feel like a dude sometimes, which is where drag plays in. Also, I'm black. Being queer is everything that is not heteronormative. So, right, heteronormativity is this concept that has come into the world and into the educational world more specifically, where we're talking about what would also be known as straight society, the mom and dads, the boy and girl pairings, adhering to being a boy or girl. And so to me, queer is everything outside of that, because there are so many different fluctuations that can make a human being. I think it's also important to note that I can't put queer on somebody else. Queer is something that somebody has to identify for themselves. So for me, coming out was really interesting. I was asked to perform and choreograph for a friend who was a drag queen, and she brought me into doing the CSU drag show, and I saw a person on stage during practice and was like, I'm attracted to them because they're a dancer. That's a thing. You can like somebody just because they're a dancer. And then by the end of the evening, I realized that I wasn't attracted just because they were a dancer. There was a lot more to that. From there, I really focused on trying to come out to my family. Honestly, I think I've come out to them 5 or 6 times, and they're still not really acknowledging it. We don't talk about it. There's no conversation around it, which is kind of unfortunate because I'm in a really happy, loving relationship right now. But I just have to hope and give them time that they're going to get there, because otherwise I can't halt living my life for them. And so I'm living out and proud and doing the best that I can to continue to invite them into my life periodically. Drag actually is a really cool acronym that stands for dressing to represent another gender. And so once I learned that, I was like, well, I can be a different gender than myself. And I started doing I guess you would call it an impersonation performance as Janelle Monáe the singer, and that's part of where my name came from. And so by the time I was hitting about 21, I became a part of the Fort Collins drag community. To have a community who not only knows me on this performer level and have no judgment and just really genuinely care about my safety and my existence in this world. I think like as kids, we're not directly taught that we're anything. We're not taught how to exist in the world. We learn through little lessons and moments of being around adults. And so I do remember a time when some adult in my life asked me if I knew I was black, and I said no, and they were like, well, you are. And then I cried. Like at my dance studio, I was the only black girl. I associated black with different and different with bad, and so it made me sad. I feel often that I'm not black enough. Like I am one of those people that struggles with enoughness in a lot of ways, and in many ways, like I don't feel like I'm black enough because I don't have the same hardships that somebody who grew up as black in the South has, or somebody who even is black and grew up in Denver has. But at a point, I took control of that, and I think a lot of that I can thank to the space that I had at CSU as a student and the great offices there that they have that do identify with race and gender and sexuality. And so I was called into a space of being able to show up and just be myself as black and not have expectations of being black in a certain way. I also have had instances with the police that haven't been the most positive. Like, I mean, when I was younger, it was really great. Like, getting my first speeding ticket is still the funniest story of my life, because the cop just felt so bad for this poor crying 16-year-old who just was so sorry. And then you compare that to being pulled over for no reason, being of legal age and buying alcohol from the liquor store, and they took it out of my car and they smashed it. I won't sugarcoat it. I was pulled over, asked to sit on the curb. My driver's license was never asked for, and all they proceeded to do was go into my car, grab the brand new alcohol I had bought, and smashed it, and then told me I could go. And I never reported it. I never talked to really a lot of people about it. I think I was ashamed because I had said for so long, oh, well, people aren't treated like that here. It's Colorado. I've been raised in Colorado, and it's always been so nice. And so the shock of actually having an instance of an incident like that, I just didn't know what to do. But I think it is important to hold the people who are supposed to protect us accountable. And there has been prominent news coverage of a lot of violence committed towards Black people, and it's heavy for me. It's really heavy. This isn't the first time this has been happening. This isn't the first time Black people have been straight up being killed, and there are Black people straight up being killed. And I've usually, in times of that, had a few conversations with people and then turned to not using social media for months and just kind of keeping to myself and doing what I'm supposed to be doing in the world as far as work and making sure I'm making money. But I couldn't do that this time. I was the same age as Ahmaud when he died. I just turned as old as Brianna was. She would have just turned 27 this year, and she died at 26. And then George was murdered on my birthday. And so with that triangle, I truly felt like I could not choose to just be quiet this time, because there was so much significance, and I had watched it all, and it's stuck in my head. It's stuck into my head still. Like, I'll close my eyes for too long when I'm awake, and I just start crying. But at the same time, from those tears, there's anger. And so that's why I'm doing things like this project. That's why I'm putting out the performances that I am in. And I think that it's just super important in these times to remember to show up for ourselves. And that's what I've been doing. I've been showing up for myself every day, taking care of myself, giving myself space to be healthy, and at the same time show up for justice, because I really don't want to see us just become complacent again, because I don't want to be a mom one day and worry that it's going to be my kid. So I hope that if you have taken the time to watch this whole video, that you have learned not only a little bit of my experience, but the understanding of the patience that it takes to deal with certain things in this world. And so I hope that you will just take some time in your next day, and maybe the day after that, and hopefully a year after that, to remember to show up for everybody in your community, support and think about the collective as a whole, and not just those who maybe are the same as you, because the more compassion that we can show each other, the more space and time we can take to educate each other, and the closer we'll get to living with justice for everybody.